Travis Hunter is the rarest NFL draft prospect we have ever seen. He is an elite player as a corner. He is a great player as a wide receiver. But the debate that we need to actually have, Ryan, is what position is he? I think he's a corner. I think he's going to be a great corner in the NFL that will play and contribute as a receiver from time to time and make some big splash plays like he did at Colorado. Where do you stand on this? What position should he play in the NFL?
On a full-time perspective, I think he's a corner as well. And the reason that I believe this is, one, I ultimately just think he's a better corner than wide receiver. Like, that's just kind of the broad strokes conversation, right? Is that I think he's a rarer football player at corner than he is at wide receiver. But then the other part of it, Joe, is if he is a part-time player on one side of the ball, it's a lot easier to be a part-time wide receiver than to be a part-time cornerback. Like, that is a little bit of a tough task. Like, if I'm saying you're a starting wide receiver and then you're going to play 10 plays of corner a game, like, that's hard, man, because you have to be the communication level on the back end is so important. I don't want to throw him out there for like 10 snaps a game. At wide receiver, it's much easier. I could have a package for him. I could have a role for him. You could do that. So I think that the conversation point is going to be very interesting, because if you do leave it up to one side or the other, wide receivers get paid more, right? So if I'm Travis Hunter, I probably want to get paid a little bit more than the other side, but I think he's better at corner. I think he should be drafted as a corner, and you should let him have a couple snaps of wide receiver a game. That, I think, is the best vantage point and the best journey for him to get the best of his talents overall on the next level.
I don't want to hang on the contract thing too much, but that was something that I thought about. It's like, well, if he's a smart businessman, he's going to try to play receiver.
Absolutely.
I think that his contract is going to be so unique that it's not going to matter, because he's going to be able to argue, well, I'm contributing at two positions. But what you just said, this dude's a corner. Yep. It is harder to find elite level corners in the NFL. It's just impossible to find these guys that are consistent lockdown players. A lot of times we'll have guys that play in the right scheme and their defensive coordinator leaves, and then they just disappear into oblivion and they're not that same guy. That's not Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter has insane range, athleticism, and length. At receiver, I watch him and I see a lot of really good plays, a lot of really good vision with the ball in his hands, really consistent hands, pretty good route runner, rare change of direction. And then you see the impact that he could have. You bring him in for every other series. You have specific packages for him. You get him the ball, you let him cook. But on defense, man, when he's playing corner, he's one of the few guys, maybe the only guy in this class that I watched where multiple times I go, oh my God. There's a play where you'll just see and you'll go, how did he just make that play? The ball will just be thrown and he's yards away. And you're thinking, oh, this is going to be an incomplete pass. He's going to come and make a tackle. And then you have to blink and readjust your eyes and say to yourself, did he just pick that off? It's all over his film. If you can get a more developed version of him as a cornerback, imagine what he can do. This is a future all-pro corner that can have 50, 60 receiving yards a game when you throw him into the mix every so often.
So I talked to an NFL scout over the last couple months, Joe, where quite simply he left it at this. There's a lot of people at wide receiver in the NFL that look like Travis Hunter, right? A little over 6 foot, 185, 190 pounds, long arms. Like, there's a lot that look like him at wide receiver. There's just not that many that look like him at corner, man. His combination of explosiveness, short area change of direction, and the ball skills at corner, like, you just don't have it come around too often, man. So I think that he is a Pro Bowl, all-pro level cornerback. I think he could be a very good player as a wide receiver as well. Like, Calvin Ridley's a name that like pops out to me as far as like he could be a Calvin Ridley-esque type of wide receiver. But do I want Calvin Ridley or do I want an all-pro corner? Like, that's the conversation it needs to come down to. I tend to look towards the cornerback position because he is a rarer athlete at the position. It's similar to the J.C. Horn conversation I had with you in the past of Joe Horn. His father was literally like, JC, a lot of guys look like you at wide receiver. Not a lot of guys look like you at corner. So I think corner is the best spot for Travis Hunter because he's the rarest of the rare at that position.
If we had to assess any weaknesses, no prospect is perfect.
Sure.
The two that stand out to me, and they're both related, it's not a great tackler, and his play strength isn't great because he's on the thinner side. And that just, it happens. He's running so much. It's kind of hard for him to carry a lot of weight because of how much he's playing. I'm sure that he has to eat a ridiculous amount of calories in order just to stay up at the 185 that he was listed out on Colorado's website. But for you, do you agree with me there? Do you see anything else, any other weaknesses besides those two?
Those are the two biggest ones, and they're interrelated, obviously. If you don't have good play strength, you're not going to be a really strong tackler or really strong at the run game. Like, those things are very interrelated. The only other thing I would say is that he is so athletic. I do think that there's a lack of attention to technique at times. Not that he's a bad technical player, but then I think there's just some reps where it's just like, I have better recovery speed than you, or I can change direction better than you. So I can bait guys a little bit. So I think increased attention to technique and that play strength, I think, is the biggest things that you need to work on.
Folks, let us know in the comments. Do you agree with us? Do you think Travis Hunter's a corner? Do you think he should be playing receiver? Whatever it is, let us know below. Hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss out on the rest of our draft coverage leading up to the 2025 NFL Draft. We'll talk to you later.